There's always something new, as in life, as in business. All right, so welcome everybody. The breakthrough. We're going strong. I think this is week like 6 or 7 doing this. Appreciate all my regulars showing up, my VIPs showing up. We got some new faces showing up as well. I've got a little beard envy from my man in the back, and it's all good. It's all good. All right, so let's get started on this thing. We got people hopping on Facebook Live. We got people walking in, people coming in. We got people joining us as well on the webinar. So we're going to be talking about in a little bit is how I bought 500 plus properties with no money down. Does this interest anybody? If not, we can talk about how to, plaster a wall, or sheetrock. What do y'all prefer? Y'all want to do this? Okay, we'll do this. Even though I got my man Jeremy here from Cost Plus, we can go construction route if y'all want, or we can talk about buying properties with no money down, which is probably going to be a pretty handy skill set to have in your back pocket. I would say it's probably the greatest skill set I've learned as an entrepreneur since I got started. It's probably one of the most important ones. So before we get started, let me send a disclaimer. I don't want to get sued like Alex Hormozy, I heard, got like multiple lawsuits because people are like, oh, you said I was going to get rich quick and all that. He's like, never said that, but here come the lawsuits. So this is intended for educational information purposes only. Nothing presented should be construed as financial, legal, tax, or investment advice. Any actions taken based on this information are done at your own risk. Always consult with licensed professionals before making financial or investment decisions. Do your due diligence. So many times, and it breaks my heart, but someone will come to me and say, they've got mixed up in a bad deal and it sucks going through it. So do your due diligence. Like, I've been through a lot of bad deals where I'm like, I should ask somebody before I did it. Right, Eduardo? That's what we have to go through. So there's an easier way and there's a hard way. Like, take the easy way when you can, which means getting educated. So here's the mission statement here. Okay, this is basically my personal mission statement that's blended here to the breakthrough: to motivate, educate, and inspire and equip other people to create the life and business that they desire. And I'm at the same time building the life and the business that I desire by leading through example. I'm not going to teach and preach to you guys about something that worked 10 or 15 years ago. I'm talking about what is going on in the world, in the marketplace right now, what's working for us and what's not working. And it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny that I talk about this a lot. Like, for many, many years in my coaching groups and talking to people, like we've been talking about how the market goes up, 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 up. Everybody believes the market goes up. It never comes down. Now we're seeing a little bit of a correction. And these phone calls like Eduardo got just a minute ago, right? I got 100 deals, foreclosures ready to go. Like, let's talk numbers. So those calls are starting to happen a lot more frequently now. Motivated sellers are getting a little extra motivated is what we're seeing. And there's a lot of creative financing options. There's a lot of we'll talk about in a little bit too, private lenders, like really what they want. Okay. They're like, you think anybody's like really trusting the stock market and all the stuff that's going on in the world? No, they want safety, security, right? They want to go to sleep at night and feel good about where their money's at and knowing that when they wake up in the morning, it's going to be there and it's increasing. So that's what I'm going to help. One of the things I'm going to try to help you guys, equip you guys to do. So what are we doing here each and every week, every Tuesday at noon Central Time? Building a community built on truth, ownership, and taking action. If you guys come in here and take this information, don't do anything with it, well, information without action is useless. So we don't want to do that. We want to create an environment. Eduardo's sitting here sharing deals and talking about what's going on, this text he got or this phone call that he got. And so that's what we want, real conversations that are going to lead to results. Sorry about that little pop-up. And we're not, so we're going to focus on business. We're going to talk about life, integrate some of those conversations in here as well, and create a standard. My standard is going to be challenge you guys. Stop drifting, start taking ownership, and do what is required to create what it is that you want. Because if you truly have something that you want to create personally, financially, for your family, like truly create a legacy, well, it's going to take hard work, okay? It's not going to happen. Like, the crazier the world gets, guess what? It's going to get a little more tricky. It's going to get a little more difficult. What we're seeing right now, which has been going on for a long, long time, and it's happening even faster now, there's a greater and greater divide between the wealthy, the haves, and the have-nots. And that divide is going wider and wider and wider as we speak. And if you're not moving and hustling to create wealth and attain assets and create something that's sustainable, you're going to be on the wrong side of that divide. And we don't want that, okay? I've been on that side. I don't like it, okay? That's what a lot of my motivation comes from. I don't want my family to go through the stuff I went through as a child. The breakthrough is for people in the arena, not critics, not spectators. I love Theodore Roosevelt's quote about being the man in the arena, being marred by blood and sweat and dust. Who cares if you lose, right? That's not the point. When you either, what is it? You either what? You win or you learn, right? We talked about that last night. You either win or you learn. So get your ass in the arena and start making this happen. So when we talk about, when I go into a business conversation, a real estate conversation, just about everything I say, I hope so, is based on principles and fundamentals. I'm not going to just like throw something against the wall and tell you, hey, I know this works if it doesn't work. So where I've built what we're going to share today and through, investing of over 18 years is built on these 5 fundamentals of real estate. What's your focus? Like that's your goals, that's your mindset. That's what you're committed to. How do you find properties, analyze those properties, analyze repairs? How do you fund those deals? We're going to be focusing on that today. How do you fix those properties? Like how do you manage construction efficiently, time-wise, all that type of stuff? And how do you flip properties? That does not mean you fix it up and flip it and sell it. It's essentially you're flipping that asset from dilapidated, distressed, what have you, and you're flipping that property to what is going to lead to your freedom. Growing your balance sheet, growing your cash flow, sometimes just making a lot of money on a flip deal, holding things as a rental, owner finance notes, giving yourself options of that freedom. And when you build your business the right way, once again, building off what we talked about last night, is when you're analyzing investment opportunities, especially in a tricky market, you always want to build in multiple exit strategies and multiple ways to monetize that deal. You can flip it, rent it, wholesale it, sub 2. We're doing pad split now, all these things. You have options. Part of creating wealth, in my coaching program is called Wealth Passage, is giving yourself options. And a lot of people will come in as a one-trick pony, and that trick a lot of times works in a certain market, and then boom, the market changes and shifts. They don't have any other tricks, right? They don't have any other strategies. So what? They're relegated to what? Go back, get a job, and all that kind of stuff. Nothing wrong with having a job, but if your calling is to be a full-time entrepreneur, like you got to give yourself options. That's one of the ways that we create wealth, through a market that goes up, down, sideways, all this kind of stuff. But the cool thing is everything's cyclical. So I've been talking about for years about like, well, we'll see what the market does. But every year there's been more investors coming into the market, very few leaving the market because the market's going up. Sellers not that motivated, prices going up, interest rates going up. It's been really, really difficult to navigate the last few years of investing. Well, now things are cyclical where we've got banks call and say, I've got 100, 1,000 properties that we need to unload ASAP. Can you help me? Gee, let me think. So what we talk about here is going to be business-wise, is going to be based on fundamentals and personal development. When I first decided almost 20 years ago to explore becoming an entrepreneur was sadly, and I say this like sadly because I was in my early 30s at this point, but I had not done a lot to develop me personally, like personal development, things like that. Sad. I'm not proud of it. I drifted most of my 20s, did a lot of beer drinking and trying to have fun. And I was just like, that's not satisfying. So since I became an entrepreneur, I shared a little bit about this last week, I believe. I've probably, if I look at my time spent, the time that I've spent educating myself through classes, courses, coaching, mentorship, I've spent a majority of my time focusing more on personal development than I have on business and real estate strategies. And one that like Tony Robbins was a big one for me. Stephen Covey was a big one for me. And so I spent a lot of time in that. Like so far, the book I'm reading right now, it's personal development. And I believe like we can design whatever business that we want to. Okay, that's fairly easy to do if you're willing to do the work. Like those models and maps are out there. But what you don't want to do is build this great business and at the same time, like you have not cultivated and created the life that you want. Cultivating a relationship with God, which is utmost importance to me, your family relationships, taking care of your body as a temple, and ultimately finances. This is what we call having it all. You don't have to sacrifice your family and your health and your even relationship with God just to make money. And that's what I did for a long time. And I don't like to do that. So I'm going to integrate those conversations in here. And whatever it is that you're looking to accomplish in business, in life, there's things that you can do to accelerate them. Okay, so there's 4 key ingredients. So when you want to create a goal, an outcome, something in your life, these are the 4 pillars of that. Number 1, it starts with your mindset. What are you committed to? What do you believe? Where's your focus at? Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, you have to get those skill sets. Okay, the skill sets that are required are going to get you there. So we're going to be sharing skill sets with you. Next, putting yourself in the right environment. Okay, when I decided that I wanted to become an entrepreneur, when I decided I wanted to fix my life, improve my relationships, I had to get out of certain environments that I was in and find other environments that were going to propel me there, right? That were going to accelerate me there. And lastly, accountability, allowing others that you know, like, and trust that have gone before you to hold you accountable so that you show up each and every day. Okay. And a lot of people don't want to let themselves be held accountable. And if you don't, just understand that you are setting yourself up for subpar results. I'll put it like that. There's a difference in saying like, oh, I'm going to get in shape or whatever, versus like, I hired a trainer, I'm going to the gym, I pulled up my credit card, like, I'm committed to this. Totally different ballgame. Totally different ballgame. Why does this little guy keep popping up? Would you stop that? All right. So a little bit about me, for those of you who don't know me. I've been doing this almost 2 decades. I got started from nothing. I'll share that with you all in a little bit. I actually used a credit card to buy my first investment property. Was able to buy 10 deals that year, 10 my next year, quit, go full time. And I've been doing it since for almost 20 years now. And I've written a few books and done some really cool stuff. But that being said, I'm here to share with you guys my experiences, and that's it. So participation, I would love questions. You guys have questions? Raise your hand, fire away. I just ask you to keep your questions in alignment with what we're talking about here. Check your updates each week. Because when I travel, we may go virtual, whatnot. And if you guys have certain topic requests, let me know. So what I put these presentations together weekly. I go off kind of feedback. Sometimes John asked a question a couple weeks ago and it stuck in my mind. I'm like, let's talk about that. Elders asked me about something today. I'm like, we probably need to focus on that for a little bit. So you guys have things that, that y'all want to focus on, let me know. That being said, I am going to ask Aldridge to come up here and introduce himself, and from Close Title, who are nice and kind enough to allow us to share their space here.
Hey everybody, I hope y'all can see me, but my name is Aldridge Shack. I'm the director of business development here at Close Title. I know you came early. He researched. He was here early, toured the whole building. He got to meet everybody here. I think he even got a couple of deals, so that's a good thing about coming early. Walter got here early. He got to use the podcast studio, and he got to shoot his content. So we want to be a resource of that. This building was here since 2023. My business partner, Rob Wiseman, bought it. Took me 10 months to rehab it. It used to be a church, and it came out this beautiful. We just want to be an educational resource. We want to make sure we can help you grow your business. If there's something that you need me to do, I'm a mover and shaker. I can get you in front of the right people. And I did order all 3 of the books that you said last week. Okay. The Fourth Quadrant, I did order that one. And the other 2 books I do have written.
The War of Art, and The Dark Side of Light Chasers.
Yeah, I ordered those books. I will have them done next week. I'll have them in front of you. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Yeah. One of these days, I'll get into some of the wealth building principles. Like, what do the wealthy do? One of the things that wealthy do is they continue to get educated. It's a lifetime pursuit. It's a lifetime pursuit. I was on a podcast interview thing the other day, and this agent, she was kicking butt, man. I think it was her first year in real estate. She netted like $350,000 her first year. And they're just talking about goals. She's like, I'm going to do this for 2 more years. I'm going to save $1 million and I'm done. And that was her goal. So her husband works. She's like, I'm saving every single dollar. And I'm like, well, then you stop growing. You cease growing. So creating wealth in life it's not a destination. It's a continual pursuit. So one of the things I do is like read each and every day. You guys got to do that. So when I mention book recommendations, if it's really good, like I would read that. The War of Art is amazing. Like, it's an amazing book. I would read that. All right. So let's talk about the focus here. So how I bought 500 properties with no money. You guys said y'all are interested in this. You want to talk about something else? All right. Let's talk about this. John, you want to talk about something else? Okay. All right. So here we go. Number 1, establish foundation. What I'm going to share with you is facts, is not fiction. I've been doing this for almost 20 years, refining this process, 500 deals, every asset class. So one of the questions is, well, does this work with this? Does it work with every asset class that I know? Businesses, all this type, real estate. I've never found anything that it hasn't worked with. Since I've been doing this, we've paid over 10,000 mortgage payments to our lenders, never missed a single payment. That's not to brag or to boast, but it is to, not to impress you, but to impress upon you the importance of having a sustainable business model. Okay. A sustainable business model that's going to be critical to your private lending and capital raising pursuits, is making sure that you have a sustainable business model. Because you may raise for a few deals, but a bad name will get out there very, very quickly, and you'll be gonzo. Okay, so it's not theory, it's proven. And most important is about trust, performance, and offering lenders what they seek. Okay, and so that's what we're going to spend most of our time talking about today, because we all know, like, with them, what's in it for me. That's what everybody cares about. But as a real estate investor, we got to take we got to take ourselves out of thinking about what is in this for me, and really focusing on them. They are our clients. So we got to really put ourselves in their shoes. Okay. Really be empathetic, understanding what are their fears, what are their concerns, what are their goals. And that's how I've essentially built, that side of my business is focus on what they want. What do they want? Number one, they want the return of their investment. Okay. Before we get into talking about big returns and all that kind of stuff, they just want to know, am I getting my money back? Am I getting my money back? I think this came from, this was from Huckleberry Finn. What's his name? I'm drawing a blank now. Come on. Mark Twain. Number one, the return of their investment. And number two, then we're going to talk about what's that return on their investment. Okay. And then lastly, they're looking, for the most part, most small lenders, they want something passive. They don't want to spend much time with this, and they just want it to be predictable, right? They want to say, hey, I'm getting my check, I'm getting my return each and every month. I have peace of mind. I can go on about my life. That's what we need to provide to them. Okay. Peace of mind, safety, security, right? And just predictability. So here's my investing bio. Okay. This is the AKA proof. So when I started in real estate, I'm going to bore some of you guys for just a minute here, but coming to a place with my wife and I live in an apartment, no money. We had just did the Dave Ramsey thing, paid off our credit cards and all that, student loans, but we were broke. And then, I read Robert Kiyosaki, read some other things. I'm like, I'm going to figure out how to do this. And so beginning year one, it was December the year before, and I made my goal. I got this poster board, drew 10 squares on it, and I'm going to fill in every one when I buy a deal. But I had no money. Okay. I had no money, but I had read a couple of books, and I had a belief that I could do this without any money. Okay. A little bit naive, but I was basing that on what I had read. And a couple of people said, yeah, it's possible. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to take that as truth, and I'm going to run with it and use the credit card. And year one strategy is sometimes your preconceived notions can be useful, but sometimes it's okay to question them. And what do I mean by that? Because whenever I bought my first property, what I did was I borrowed money against my credit card. I had a $14,000 credit card limit. I borrowed $7,000 against it with one of those checks you could write. And so I wrote that credit card check and used it as a down payment to buy my first property. I bought it from a wholesaler. It was a foreclosure, Eduardo, we were talking about. That was almost all bought for several years, mostly was foreclosures. I bought that property, renovated it in about 30 days, my first renovation, and I was able to refinance it. Everybody could refinance back then real easily. So I refinanced it. I put a renter. I'm like, got that first rent check, and I'm like, holy crap, this works. And she was a great tenant. I had her for many, many years. So, all right. And now I had confidence. Okay, this works, except what? I only had $7,000 left on my credit card, right? And so I'm like, I can only buy one more property. So I actually went to my hard money lender. And I was honest with him, like, here's my goal. Here's what I want to do. And so we essentially negotiated at that point in time was he would give me 100% financing. He would give me 100% financing if I could buy the deals cheap enough. Okay. If I could buy the deals cheap enough and I could get out in a really, really short period of time. And I was buying mainly like basic rehabs. These weren't big gut jobs. I was buying paint and carpet rehabs. They were like $10,000 to $20,000 back in that time, which today is like 40 or 50,000. But they were really clean rehabs. It was easy to refinance. So what we worked out was I got a cashier's check. I think it was $5,000 made out to his company that he held on to. He's like, if you don't perform, then I'm going to take this for each deal. And he would only do like one deal at a time. But I was able to string along for the most part every single deal with a hard money lender. I was able to get 100% financing, get him out, and I juggled. And it wasn't easy. There's a lot of paperwork. So I'm working a full-time job, going to look at these deals, doing all the financing, managing the rehabs, renting the properties myself. Man, it was like I worked like 100 hours, like a 80-hour week. I'm like, that's a light week. Like I was working 100 plus hours a week, and it's okay. I was in my zone for one of the first times in my life. I felt alive and I was moving forward. Okay. So that's what I did. Got to the end of year one, had number 10 locked in. And then I realized I couldn't get what anymore? Who knows? I couldn't get bank financing anymore because I was using, Fannie Mae loans. At that point in time, I don't even know what it is now. But at that point in time, you could only get 10 loans in your personal name. Okay. I think it's 4 or 5 now. Don't ask me. I'm not quite sure, but I think it's 4 or 5. Is that right? In your personal name. Okay. And they didn't have like DSCR loans and stuff like that back then, to my knowledge. I didn't use them. But I got to the end of year 1. I'm like, holy crap, what am I going to do now? And I was in a couple of local real estate groups, and I saw people, when the financing was starting to get tough, start to go away. And I'm like, this don't make any sense, because real estate looks like it's about what I was being told. I didn't know, but real estate is about to be on sale. So in the next year, 2008, as we were Rob pointed out last week, we started investing before social media existed. I'm dating myself there. But the next year I was like, well, what can I do to continue buying properties? Because I finally found something that I enjoyed, that I loved doing, and was going to create wealth for me and my family. So I didn't know anything about private money at that point in time, but I knew the idea of partnerships. So what I began to do was tell people, hey, I'm investing in real estate. Curious if that's something that would be of interest to you. And so I just started going through my phone, talking to people. I was even like, one of the things, I'm not going to get too much into how to raise money in this thing. I'm just going to tell you about like what I did. That's a whole different presentation to like how to attract money to you. But really what I did was I just started having conversations. I started having conversations like even with people that I knew that didn't have money. Okay. And this was critical. I was like calling everybody. I was a bit, not spammy or salesy, but I was just excited in what I was doing. I remember I was telling all my family about this. Everyone should be doing this because I believe 1,000% what I was doing. And I was just like, everybody should be doing this. Like, why isn't everybody doing this? So I was just authentically excited about it. And so I started having these conversations. And as I started having those conversations, I would get asked questions that I didn't know the answer to. And I'm like, I don't know. Like I was still learning like super green. So I would get asked questions I didn't know the answer to. And it was really, really beneficial. I didn't realize at the time. They'd say, what about this? What about that? They'd ask me some tax question. They'd ask me some legal question. I didn't know. But I didn't lie to them. It's like, I don't know. Let me find out. And so it caused me to go research. And then I had a lender and she said yes. And she's like, well, how's this going to work exactly? I'm like, I don't know. Let me figure it out. And then I had another one. She said yes. And so called an attorney. And basically what we did, we put together a simple LLC. And I said, I'm going to find deals. I'm going to, negotiate the deals. I'm going to, do all the paperwork, attend closings, manage rehab. Like I'm going to do everything. But whenever it comes time for money, credit, that's your job. Okay. And I'm like, I'll help with all the paperwork, but I need you for that. You're my money partner. So I did that with 2 small partners for 5 deals and figured my way through it. And then it came really, really about mid-year. I was able to get a meeting with what I would call a very high net worth individual. Okay. A very accredited investor. He's got a very popular business along I-10. Very just a fortuitous type of meeting. I got to meet with this gentleman. And I'll be honest, like he asked less questions than anybody. This dude was sophisticated, asked very few questions. And it was one of the easiest conversations I ever had. And he's like, yeah, let's do it. I trust you. Let my assistant know whenever you need to send a wire or whatever. That was literally what he said. But because I had probably practiced that conversation, I don't know, 40, 50 times before I met with him, I think I was able to compose myself and handle that conversation. Where if I hadn't been making those phone calls, even with people that I knew didn't have money, I was still having calls with people because I wanted to practice. And then they may know somebody. And that's how I was in. Hey, this may not be of any interest to you. That's how I'd start the calls a lot of times, which is completely fine. But if you know anybody like that might be interested in this, let them know, give them my name and number. So I was practicing. So that allowed me to do 10 deals that year. Okay. Now that was good, extremely grateful for it. And my last guy, he was all cash. So there was no finance. He was just slapping down cash. We're buying rentals. And that was great.
He would stay in the note. He would stay in the.
We had an LLC. We were 50-50 partners.
So his money would stay tied into the long-term rental for years.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
He had it like that. Mm-hmm. He had it like that. Yeah, just all cash, no refinance kind of thing. Never went to look at a property. Hey man, what's going on? You want to go take a look at a property? Bought another one. I ain't got time for that shit. I trust you. All right. In our years of working together, never went to look at a property, never called me, asked me a question, never. So a lot of times the more sophisticated, they're not all that way, but he was just a super cool dude. Go ahead.
How did you structure that with him? Was there a rate of return he was making? Was it a profit split?
We were 50-50 on everything. He got his capital back first whenever there was capital event, like we sold a property. Other than that, I didn't take any management fee, anything like that. All that money went into the account. So in those you had 5 rentals with no debt. Those accounts were going up pretty quick. So we had a deposit amount, like, hey, this is our minimum bank amount, whatever it was, I don't recall. But after that, we just do disbursements. It's like a couple times a year, here's 10 grand, here's 15 grand. So we would just disperse like that until they sold. It was real basic partnership.
So he wouldn't get his money back until you sell.
We did some disbursements, but that was all 50-50.
Right.
We would say for repairs, vacancies. Yeah, and this is when I learned something really valuable that served me well with business deals. I've done business deals, raised a lot of money this way, partnerships, things like that. And here's been my philosophy. Okay, and especially in the beginning, it's a handshake agreement. It's a handshake agreement backed up by the proper paperwork. So I would meet with these in the beginning. This is what I was doing. Like, hey, this is what I'm thinking. What do you think? Da da da. We have a conversation. Take down the notes. Get it to the attorney. Here's our agreement. And to this day, with our private lenders, to this day, we have what's called a loan doc sheet. We have every single thing, every single question, title, insurance, surveys, we line it out in a loan doc sheet. One of my assistants does. We send it to the lender. Hey, review this. Does all this look good? All your account information correct? Boom. Then we get it to the attorney. So now we have a process for it. Back then, there was a handshake agreement, and then I would go to an attorney that could help us get there. So then after year 2, I looked at, okay, my portfolio, now I've got 20 rental properties. I was on the verge of quitting my job. And I share this story a lot. It was January of 2009. And I had a friend I met, talk about environments. I was hanging out in new environments. I had a friend, and we were seeing each other recurring at this event. So we started getting coffee and things like that and talking shop. And we went to meet at Einstein Bagels I think it was the first weekend or something like that of January. And we sit down there to meet. And I remember he slapped down this magazine it was a real estate investor magazine. I didn't even know such things existed. And there's this real estate investor magazine. And I say there was a kid. He was like 25 or whatever. He was in his early 20s on the cover of this magazine, and he was raising millions and millions and millions of dollars. Okay. And I'm like, holy crap. So I took that magazine. I'm like reading what this kid's doing. I'm like, holy cow. And that's when, it was like an epiphany or a paradigm shift. I'm like, I'm playing it small here. And I also realized so some of the things that got us where we're at won't get us where we want to go. Okay. What got you here where you're at today won't get you where you want to go. It'll keep you here. If you're good with that, then keep doing it. But I wanted to go higher. So I'm like, I started really looking like I appreciated my partners, but I didn't want to give up 50% equity anymore. Okay. I didn't want to do that. So I was like, now I've learned about private money. So I'm like, I'm all in. I'm going all in with this. So that's when I first started learning about private money. Now, so I didn't do any more of those partnerships like in that structure. I've done other partnerships since, but I'm like, I'm going to go back to own it 100%. I'm going to start raising private money. Okay. Long story short, the gentleman that was on the cover of that magazine, 2-3 years ago, I forget what it was. Anybody watch American Greed? So my wife, one of the few shows I watch, and wife and I are flipping on American Greed late Saturday night, whatever it was. This dude's on American Greed. He was scamming people big time. So that was very unfortunate for him and for his investors. But that's what I started doing. I was still using a little bit of hard money in year 3, I think maybe in year 4, but I have not used a hard money loan in over 15, 16 years. And I know some people have been in business for a long time that's like maybe as long as me that still use hard money. And like, I don't understand that. I don't understand that because when we look at the 5 fundamentals of real estate, funding is a big part. And pretty much all I teach, 90% of what I teach is private money. And I know some investors who they've raised a ton of money and then never used the banks. So that is an option that's available to us. So I just went all in on this, okay? Learning as much as I could learn about raising private money. And I will tell you this. So what I kept having conversations, meeting people. And I remember 2 things. There were 2 huge conversations that happened around that first year. Was one, at the end of the year, one of my partners called me, and from year 2, one of the people that partnered with me, and she had taken a bunch of money out of the stock market at the beginning of 2008 to invest with me. And around that same time, I'm talking to private lenders, but I remember feeling very just, like I wasn't that confident. I felt nervous, like I'm a borrower. I feel kind of like I'm calling them, asking them to, lend to me. I just felt like a borrower, right? And just like I didn't have confidence. But at the end of that year 3, she called me and we were talking about one of the properties or whatever. And by the way, she's like, oh, by the way, I just want to say thank you because I was looking at, if I hadn't taken that money out of the stock market and invest with you, like it would have devastated me. Okay. And I'm like, how many people got crushed by the stock market in 2008, right? crushed. So I'm like, man, I'm playing small because I'm not just I'm not a borrower. I'm not a beggar. Like, this is an incredible opportunity that we have. Okay. And I believe that wholeheartedly. So the people that I've seen that have really, really, really done a great job raising money, friends of mine, students, like, they believe that wholeheartedly they could help people. So I always had that, like, okay, I get it. Like, this is a servant's job. Like, I can really help these people while at the same time help me and my family, right? It's called doing good by doing good. So that was really, really big for me. Okay. That was like an epiphany moment. Like, okay, it's limitless what we can do. And there was another huge conversation that I was going to share with you, but I completely forgot. I'll remember it in a minute. But since that point in time, you name it and you can do it. So I've done this with notes. I've done it with standard loans, meaning I raised 100% of money because we created a note, a deed of trust, and they loaned me 100, 105, 110% of financing. Not just 100%, 105, 110. We'll talk about that. Oh, the second conversation I remember was around that time, I had another investor who committed, say, yeah, we want to invest and let's get moving forward. And I remember coming home that night and talking to my wife. I said, hey, so-and-so committed, they want to invest with me. And she's like, well, that's great. It's wonderful. But I remember having like this heaviness, like it felt like this weight on my shoulders. Okay. Because there's a little conflict, right? Like, I'm taking on this debt. I'm year 3 in this thing. What if things don't work out? And I just knew like, if I didn't perform, if I didn't do everything that I said and committed to them that I was going to do, I wasn't gonna be able to sleep, like live with myself. I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. So I told my wife, I'm like, it is good. I'm like, but I'm just gonna let you know that if something bad happens, whatever, like, we'll sell everything we own. We'll live on the streets because they're gonna get their money back no matter what. So there's a heaviness there and there's a responsibility. We'll get into that in a minute, but that was big for me too. And I feel like it's critical because your investors they're going to know who you are. Okay. They're going to know who you are and they're just going to sense it. Like, words are one thing, but as we know in communication, like, nonverbal communication greatly outweighs verbal communication. So words don't matter a whole lot. And the slicker you talk may not do you good. I bumble and stumble my words and chew bubble gum when I'm talking all this kind of stuff. Like, I'm not the most polished guy in the world.
Make sure they're taken care of first.
Yep. They're not all that way. And sometimes there's there's discipline required where, man, there's a big upside there, but I'm like, I'm just going to have to say no, because if that thing goes sideways or all these things don't work out, I'm just going to, yeah, maybe my net worth could be 2 or 3 times what it is now, but maybe I'm broke because I took on risk I shouldn't have taken. So that was big for me, like the principle of low risk, high reward. Okay, predictability, cash flow. That's why I don't do a lot of development. Your risk goes up with development versus taking something that is there existing, adding some value and pumping it up. So that's my personal thing. Not that if you want to develop it.
Question if I might. Did you do any double closings?
Not back then, no. Double closings as a buyer, but I wasn't wholesaling back then. I wholesaled 0. I was like buying. That's all I was doing. I was a buyer. So this is what I've done when I say hundreds of deals with my lenders real quick. I've done standard loans, notes. I've done joint ventures with lenders where they're essentially the money partner. We've done official partnerships, meaning we've just had JV agreements. We've had official partnerships. We've done syndications, okay, that are similar, like a fund structure, okay, with, you guys have heard like Reg C, Reg D, 506B, 506C. We've done those. And then everything else you can imagine: flips, rentals, notes, commercial properties, mobile homes, mobile home parks, RV parks, land, subdivisions, everything. So it's worked with all of it. Yes, baby.
What you said, that also goes along with what you told us last night. I thought about that this morning, saying that you told you do what you said when you actually experienced going through a loss, because not all of your deals were profitable. You shared that with us last night. He said that when they weren't profitable, that your partner got what they committed to. They may not have made any money, but your partners got what you all agreed.
Yes. Yeah, I was talking about a development deal that we did here in the Heights area. Bought a plot of land, scraped some homes to build some new construction homes. Right around it was the time when the Heights never crashed, but it plateaued and there was like a lot of inventory. Oil and gas crashed, and we built these beautiful, amazing 3-story homes. It was art. These homes were so beautiful, but they wouldn't sell. And my our balance sheet, our bank accounts are like a mess. And I did bring in a partner on that. And at the end of the deal, he was a partner. Okay. He was not a private lender. He came in as a partner, as the money partner, invested about $500,000 as a partner, right? Betting on the upside. Well, at the end of the day, we ended up renting these homes where negative cash flow is like, I almost quit real estate during that time. Like, this is terrible. I can't even tell you some of the stories we had developing, which I like just rather hit myself with the head with the hammer. But at the end of the day, I returned all of his capital. Okay. I took over $100,000 loss, and I just ate the loss. Even that wasn't even the agreement. The agreement was like, we're all in this together. I returned it. Let me just eat it. And so I ate it, and that wasn't fun. So, but I honored my word, and that was more important to me in the grand scheme of things. So as you're building, okay, as you begin capital raising, you want to make sure that it's sustainable. So, and being sustainable, like we've read the statistics, like whatever, 8 or 9 out of 10 businesses will be gone after X amount of years, 5 years, 8 years. So like majority of businesses, they're out of business. We see this happen all the time. These little commercial office spaces, business goes up, 6 months, a year later, it's gone. It's gone. It's gone. Business is hard. Business is hard. So capital raising doesn't have to be hard, but let's do it in a sustainable fashion. Okay. So number one, as you begin raising money, it's going to start with your commitment and your character. Your commitment and your character. If you're not fully committed to performing with these people, it's not going to be sustainable. And if you are not of the utmost integrity and character, it's not going to be sustainable. And let me just tell you, like, don't even do this. Like, because my lenders, I joked on a webinar. I did a webinar one time. It was like, I'm a private money shepherd. That's really, when I look at it, like, that's my job. Like, these are my sheep, and my job is to protect them and to shepherd them and take care of them. And that's how I see myself. So it starts right there. And if you aren't fully committed, you're like, well, I'm hoping this works, or you haven't invested in yourself and your education and your business model, don't do this. Just don't do this. And when I do my private money mastery courses and other training, like, I hammer this home because I get calls, I hear stories about lenders being, losing everything because they trust their shepherd. Like, my business partner's friend invested $2.5 million. Everything they have with an investor, it's gone. It's gone. They are wrecked. Should they have put all their eggs in that one investor's back? Probably not. No, they shouldn't have. They should have diversified, but still they trusted that shepherd to lead them, and he let them off a cliff. That's where it starts. If you're not there, if you don't feel in your heart you're 100% or 1,000% on this, don't move forward. So that was my commitment, 100% performance, 100% performance. And they're going to sense your commitment, your character, and your certainty. Okay. And that was my secret formula right there. I was committed. I was going to be the utmost character, and I was certain about what I was doing. Single family investing, medium price housing and below, multiple exit strategies that, I'm not going to say work in every market, but we can withstand some of this, and be okay. And thus far it's worked. So this continues with your investment game plan. This is me. Right, I was looking for low risk. That's supposed to say high reward. Well, low risk versus high risk. I'm low risk. I want high reward. I want multiple exits. Right? Multiple exits equal what? A lower risk, higher lender conference. Brant, what if that doesn't work? Great question. We can do this, we can do this, we can do this. Versus if you're doing something, $1.5 million flip, Eduardo, right? We have this one exit strategy. And that's okay, but make sure the structure is right? Because the deal could be great, but the structure could be wrong. Therefore, it's not a good deal, and vice versa. Sustainability. Want something like, hey, when things go up, things go down, it's okay. We're going to be sustainable. So I love like the mobile home parks and stuff like that. And then track record also matters. So some people get hung up on this a little bit, where they're like, well, I haven't done hundreds of deals. I haven't done many deals at all. I've helped people raise money where their first deal they've raised private money for. It doesn't always mean that you have to have a real estate track record. Some people, I've coached some people, and they have real, like, incredible accolades, like business-wise, things they've done in their community, church organizations, things like that. All of that shows your character and your track record. So you can utilize that when you're talking to lenders, or they've had other businesses before. So all of those will help you build a sustainable capital raising plan. And then everything that you've done in your past will compound with time and interest. So every experience, every deal that you're doing, you're adding to your record. And then returns vary with experience of the lender and the borrower. So when you start talking about raising money, this is another Another thing that I learned was in the beginning when I was raising money, at that point in time, we were paying hard money lenders between 12 and 15% interest, a minimum of 2. Typically back then we were paying 3 to 4 points. Okay. So back then when I started raising money, I'm like, yeah, we'll pay 12%. We'll pay 12%. We didn't always pay points. We were happy to pay 12%. And that was basically me advertising. I pay 12%. But then I started learning something as going back to compounds with time and experience. I started learning, hey, 10 deals, 20 deals, 30 deals. The more time that I had in the business and the more experience that I have, I became more valuable to my lenders. Okay. And I learned this is that you can tell the experience of the borrower by what they pay for their money. Okay. You can tell the experience of the borrower by what they pay for their money. So I was raising money, 12, 14, 15%. But then a friend of mine, we had a meeting with a private lender. And this is one of those things too, I'll never forget. Where we met with this lender. We're telling her about ourselves. This is our business model, going through a couple PowerPoint slides that we had. And we got to the end and my friend was leading the conversation and he was just asking open-ended questions. Like we weren't talking about ourselves a whole lot. It was real brief. Like what are your fears? What are your concerns? What are your goals? Things like that. And it got to the final part and she's like, I like you guys. I trust y'all. I think I'd like to give this a try. What are you going to pay me, if I invest with you? So my friend said, it depends. What does it depend upon? She said, well, it depends on a few things. Number one, the type of deal. Typically we'll pay a little higher interest on a fix and flip than we will on a stabilized rental. Et cetera, et cetera. Depends on the rehab, things like that. And it also depends on something else. She's like, well, what's that? So, well, we want you to be happy and we want to be happy too. We believe in win-win agreement. So it depends on what rate of return you'd be happy with. So he dropped an open-ended question. So to this day, very rarely do you see me promoting or pitching rates. I could have lenders watching this right now and I'm honest with them. And so her response was she said, well, I think I'm making like 1% on my CD from the bank. So I'd probably be happy with 5%. And I started to choke, and then my friend responded, he was like, well, that's not the number that we had in mind, but I think we can work with that. And I've used that line when we buy houses. If they say their number is lower than we thought, not the number that we had in mind, I think we can work with that. When we're dealing with contractors, occasionally someone will come in way lower than we think. And I'm like, oh man, not what I had in mind, but I think we can work with that, I guess. Is that the best you can do? Oh gosh, kicking myself. So I began to learn though, that you can tell the experience of the borrower by what they pay for their money. And I'll also tell you equation, it's not a slide, but a good formula, if you're inexperienced as an investor and you want to raise private money, bad formula is you being inexperienced as an investor working with an inexperienced lender. That's not good. In the beginning, I would encourage you can be inexperienced, but work with an experienced lender who's been in this game, right? Who knows it. And you're going to pay more? Yeah, you're going to pay more. But as your experience grows, right, the cost of your capital is going to come down to where we've raised money at 5%, 6%, 7%, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We're doing a $1.75 million deal right now with 7% money for 10 years. Okay. So as your experience increases, the cost of your capital should be going down. If it's not, you got to ask yourself, why is that? Why is it not going down? It's probably because you're not putting the effort to what we're going to talk about in a little bit. You're not having enough conversations and you're not educating people enough. And when I have lenders that are looking for, hey, they'll fill out a form, they'll call me, they're looking for 12, 14, 15%. I had a call last week with someone, they wanted 12% and 2 points. I'm like, that's not a good fit here. And I explained why. That makes sense. Okay, we'll do 9%. They counter. I was like, what did I say? It's not the number I had in mind, but I think we might be able to work with that. Okay. So just understand that. So let's talk about the science of money, because money has a job to do. Okay. What is money looking for? It's looking for safety. It's looking for security, and it wants to grow. Okay. That's what money is wanting to do. What do lenders want? We talked about, they want the return of their capital. They want security. And one of my lenders told me she used to own a title company. And she said, I know that my security is the note, the deed of trust. It's secured by the paperwork. She was like, but me as a lender, the borrower is my security. She's like, you're my security. Because if that deal goes bad, I've seen it happen time and time again, whoever's in the front is going to determine whether this asset is worth anything or not. So you are the security. And they want scalability, right? Meaning they can do this over and over and over again without much work and effort. Okay. It's definitely that. This is not, when you're raising money, it's not about convincing people, selling them. I don't do that. It's aligning what they're already seeking. They want safety, security, passivity, predictability. when I talked about last week about being the opportunity, you just become that person. Like if you're providing what it is that they're seeking, it's really, really easy. So you just have to position yourself to do that. How do I do that? Educate, 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 educate. And that's what I was doing for so long. Started way back at the self-directed IRA meetings. I would just show up, I would talk to people, and I just kept showing up. And then eventually I got asked to like speak, share, doing things like that. And then that's when I just kind of learned, like, I don't have to sell anything, which is great because I hate selling. Like, I don't like selling. Some of you guys are really good at sales. I wasn't good at sales, but I like to help people and I like serve people and I wanted to do deals. So I just realized if I can just educate enough people about this opportunity that's amazing, that I believe that a certain percentage are going to want to do business with me. And if I educate 100 people or 1,000 or 10,000 people, whatever, I just need like 1%. I don't need everybody. I just need 1%. And ideally, I want the most people, the people that I align with, right? That we connect with. And most of my lenders, like we're, for the most part, like we're friends. We're not, it's not, I'm a business partner, but it's friends. And it was with educating. That's where I wrote my book, The Private Lender Playbook, just to educate more people. And then you're doing good by doing good. So even if these people that read my book or go on a course or what have you, if they never call me, never do a deal, that's okay because I feel like I've helped them. So they're better off whoever they invest with, whatever they do. So we have to go in with that kind of that shepherd mindset. Over disclose. A lot of people or investors, they want to highlight the upside. The upsides, we all got a greed gland, right? So it's easy to do that. Disclose all the stuff, like all the stuff that could go wrong, right? Has anyone ever seen PPM, a private placement memorandum? Has anyone ever seen those? From like, if you look like Grant Cardone, right? Like he raises a lot of money. Some of you guys, I don't know if you've ever been a part of being a passive investor, like on a multifamily deal. If they're a fund or a syndication, they have to put out a PPM. And when we did our land syndication deal, I thought I always did a good job of over disclosing the risk. And like, I used to jokingly say, like, assume that this is a terrible deal and I'm the next Bernie Madoff, which is a freaking scam artist, Ponzi guy. I'm like, assume like I'm not a good character and this is a bad deal. This is what I would tell them. I'm like, what would you do to protect yourself? Okay, because you could still safeguard yourself if those two things were true. So I would always over disclose. But when I read our PPM, I was like, holy crap, they disclose everything in the world that could possibly go wrong. They got to read it, they got to sign it. And like, if somebody still invests with you after reading one of those things, you know, they probably trust you, or they just didn't read it. Because I read it, I'm like, I wouldn't invest in this thing reading all this. My gosh, be that opportunity, provide certainty in an uncertain world. In an unstable world, what do people want? They want certainty. Okay, this is the certainty in who you are, what you're committed to, and your business model. If you do that, people are going to be attracted to you because this is what I found is like the secret formula that always works. Key to raising money is being a trustworthy person. Trustworthy people plus good deals equals unlimited capital. Be a good person, bring good deals to the table, and you will never have to worry about financing. All right, so how do we get 100% financing the right way? So the numbers have to make sense. Obviously, we're not raising 100%, 105 or 110% if the numbers don't make sense. Lenders will fund even more than 100% if the deal is strong. How did I first learn about this? From one of my private lenders. We were doing a deal. They knew, they were very well educated on real estate. And we sent them the email, here's the deal, and she called me. And she said, you know what? And they were primarily using their self-directed IRA to invest. She said, we've got about, I don't know, it was like $7,000, $8,000. She's like, if we loan this to you, which we're going to do, we're still going to have like $7,000 or $8,000 sitting in our account. If it's sitting, it's not making us money. I can't invest that in another real estate deal. Would you need like $7,000 or $8,000 more on this deal? I'm like, gee, let me think. Yeah, I think so. Right? Why? Number one, things go wrong, right? You have to replace an AC you weren't planning, a house gets vandalized, whatever, things break, the sewer lines broke. There's things like that. That's number one. Number two, what's the number one reason that house flippers go out of business? Cash flow. Cash flow. I saw Bill Allen. He's real big teaching private money. And he was like, let's just face it, like most flippers are broke. Most flippers are broke. Why? Because they never have cash. And as soon as they get cash, it's gone right away. So whenever I figured this out, number one was 100% financing, but opportunities for 105, 110% capital changed my whole business. Because imagine you're flipping 5 houses. I've got slides on this. We go through our training. So imagine you're flipping 5 houses. So let's say, for example, in today's market, whatever, $300,000 houses. how much you guys putting down for a hard money loan? 20%?
Well, depending on
10?
what you go with.
Say 10. Say 10. That's on the low side. Say you're putting 10,000. So now you've got $50,000 down plus all your closing costs, plus all your points. You're like 70, 80 grand right there. Plus your monthly holding costs. Okay. So that's 1.5 million of debt. That's $15,000 a month you're making in payments. Plus when you buy those properties, you're what? Outlaying cash to do your rehab before you can get reimbursed. Do rehab budgets ever go over budget? Only all the time. Okay. So now you've got extra cash out of pocket. And so it kills people from cash flow. It's not that they don't know how to flip houses. It's not they don't know how to find good deals or rehab projects. It's that they have a cash flow problem. So whenever I started doing this, rather than me pulling money out of my pocket, which I didn't have when I started, it was putting money into my pocket. So if I was buying a house for $100,000 and need a $50,000 rehab, the day of closing, the home was bought, and what? I was getting a $1,000 wire going into my bank account. This is a whole different business model than every other flipper does. That's what people don't realize is. I didn't know I was doing things a lot different. I didn't know what I didn't know. I was just like, this just seems to make sense, like this works. And now, am I telling you that a lender right away is going to loan you 105, 110%, wire you the money for your funds at closing? No, but as your time and your experience increase, that trust increases. That's just been my experience of what we've done.
So you're getting 100% of the rehab, and obviously 100% of the purchase price. How do you, and you are doing with zero money out of your own, how are you handling the overages?
Overages I will handle on my own, right? Overages I will handle on my own. That's why a lot of times we will attempt to come up with a rehab budget with, hey, we've got a 10 or 20% contingency and I'll factor that into the loan when we can. It's not always that way. And it's gotten incredibly harder the last few years with COVID and prices. It's gotten much more difficult. But that, we'll just have to come up with that money out of pocket. And I'm not even, what? No, not necessarily. We've done second liens, but no, there's only one lien holder for the most part. We'll talk about that in a second. I'm going to talk about that structure. Yeah, there's no hard money in this. I won't even get into accrued interest. That's when I started learning about accrued interest. And then so our lender started loaning us money where we didn't make any payments, but they would receive their investment back plus all accrued interest when we sold the property. It's a whole different business model than how 95% of flippers flip. It's completely different. It's game. That's how I've been in business this long. If I was doing it the traditional way that house flippers flip, if I was doing it the old way, I would have been out of business years ago, years and years and years ago. This is what's kept me in business. Okay. And that's why I tell people, like some people are saying, I say, well, I can't get started because I don't have money, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm not trying to be insensitive, but I'm like, cry me a freaking river. Okay. And that's how I got started. And you're literally cursing what could be your greatest blessing. Because I started from ground zero with nothing, it forced me to think creatively, to figure things out. And like thoughts become things. So it just gave me that mindset, like, no, I can do any deal if the numbers make sense, right? And if this still makes sense, like we can figure it out. But a lot of people come in and they've got some money. I've had this happen multiple times over the years with people I've coached. They'll come in, they've got $20,000, $100,000, what have you. And there's a little coaching session I'll do. I'm like, I need you to pretend you have no money. Like what? Like pretend you're broke, but like set that money aside. It's in the bank account. Pretend that you have no money. Now, what are you going to do? Now you're forced to find better deals. You're forced to negotiate better terms, better rates from your lenders, accrued interest, better pricing from your contractors. That was how I was wired, because it wasn't because I wanted to, it's because that was my circumstances. So I knew I had to be lean and mean on everything if I wanted to reach my goal. Yeah.
Because you could probably, it's such a good deal, you could just walk up to somebody else.
Well, I mean, we're buying them, but yeah, maybe we're taking a little of the profits up front. If you want to look at it that way. Yeah. Like, let's say, for example, and on that deal, the first one that I did that my lender loaned more, she's like, this is a really good deal. It was like 65%. She's like, that's a really good deal. So she felt comfortable. So absolutely, I felt comfortable taking that money, right? Or, borrowing that money. So those things have to make sense. But yeah, absolutely. So like, hey, you're taking your profits early, essentially. Now, if that deal goes sideways, you got to be prepared to and this has happened where I'm bringing money to closing. This deal didn't work out. Things happen. Mm-hmm.
and you were pouring money, you were forced to find a way to finance this deal. You were forced to find better deals. You were forced to learn how to negotiate. And what are the other things?
Get construction at a lower, like as cheap as possible that you could, that was still going to be a good result. Negotiate better terms, accrued interest, things like that. Those are the big ones. But what I've seen happen with some of my people that I've coached and known over the years, I'll give them this lesson. But inevitably, what a lot of them will do, one guy comes to mind, I think he had about 60,000, was going through my training, did the whole speech about pretend like you have no money. And then what did he do? He went and bought a rental property, put $20,000 down. Not there's anything wrong with that, but he wired his mind, okay, I need 20, he's training himself, I need $20,000 to buy a rental property. So then he went and bought another one, put $20,000 down, nothing wrong with that. And then went and bought another one. So then he had 3 rentals. And now what also did he not have? He didn't have any cash. And he also had programming, I need $20,000 to buy a rental property, to buy a property. So then this guy checks out. I don't see him for like 6 months, whatever it is. Like, dude, what have you been doing? He's like, well, I don't have any more money. I'm like, you didn't listen to what I said. And I'm not telling any of you here, people like, well, why don't you put your money in real estate? Like, you don't believe in real estate? No, that's not the case. That's not the case. In the beginning, I didn't have money to put in real estate, and I needed every dollar that I had to start building up my reserves. So I never had to call my lender, so I couldn't pay them. So one is building up your reserves. And then number 2 is finding a higher return on your money. So on your investment. So over the years, I've gotten really good at raising money between 7 and 10%. Our ceiling has been 10%. We've not paid more than that in many, like over a decade. So why would I put money into something that I can raise for 7 to 10% when what do I do with my money? What do I invest it? Bitcoin. No, what are you talking about? No, just kidding. I'm not that guy at all. I loan my money out. I'm a private lender, right? I lend on notes, things like that for 10, 12%, 2, 3, 4 points, things with a much higher rate of return. So I do what I teach my lenders to do too. Like, hey, experience of the borrower. I will loan to newbies. You guys are newbies. You know somebody new, refer them to me. I will likely lend to them, but I'm going to lend at higher rates because of the experience of the borrower. Right. So I do invest my money in real estate, but I do it at a much higher rate of return. Does that make sense? So that's really important too. So, all right, back to the slide. 100% financing. You have to communicate the opportunity clearly. Okay. So the communication piece is real important. This is when you being a pro. He talks about this in the War of Art. He's like, there's a difference between pros and amateurs. Become a pro. If you become a pro, you're going to be able to communicate that opportunity. You're learning through it in the Private Money Mastery. Like, it's all about how you talk to these people, right? And then making sure that there's acceptable LTV ratios. We're not trying to raise 100% money on bad deals or 80% deals. I've seen people do that, and they're called criminals. Okay, we're not doing that. Trust, good deals, perform, and you're going to get long-term capital partners. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about what you mentioned. How do you get 100%? So there's the traditional borrower lender deal. Okay. Loan to value is key. LTV, loan to value, and your lender trust value. Because you can have, I don't care, you can have 50% all in deal, but if they don't trust you, it doesn't matter. So you have to have the LTV of the deal, and you have to have the lender trust value where they trust you. But you have to have both. You have to have both. Because lenders may trust certain investors, and they do, and they trust them blindly, and the LTV wasn't there, and that's how things go off. So this is the traditional way that we've done 80% of our deals. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And that requires money out of your pocket.
Yeah. That's a hard money verbiage. So there's certain lenders that I talk to that talk like that, and they're basically hard money lenders. Which is, it's okay. It's okay, but typically they're not a good fit for us. Yeah, I do too. But they want skin in the game, which I understand that. It's like when we're doing owner finance deals, it's the same way. Like I want skin in the game. You have to put down a sizable down payment when I'm doing owner finance deals. Why? Because I know the number one indicator of their loan performance is how much money they have in that deal. Okay. If I'm doing owner finance, so I'm selling my property at full market value. If I give them 100% finance, what's their incentive? Like, no. The only equity is going to be there is their cash coming in. So hard money lenders and sophisticated lenders know that as well. Hey, if they've got skin in the game, they're more likely to perform. And that is true for most people. I have a little different model. So I'm like, well, I've done 500 something deals. I've paid everything. So my track record is that I'm going to perform. All right. Creative financing. So you can combine lenders with creative deals, right? And you guys doing subject to deals now. You may be doing a seller finance deal right now, lease option type of stuff. And it could be a smoking deal, but you need $20,000, $50,000, $500,000. We bought a partially developed subdivision deal. I got seller financing from the seller. Okay, I got seller financing from the seller, but I needed about $350,000 or so to get this project going. I brought in a lender that supplied the three. That makes sense to get it going. Now I have about 300,000 of my own money in this thing because it's gone over, and that's me. But so I've got money there too. But you can combine that, right? Like you could do a subject to deal. Okay, you could do a subject to deal. Right now we have one under contract for 160. See, the seller says you can take over my note, you can keep it out for 30 years or what 25 years that are left, 2.75% interest. I just need 30,000 at closing. Well, the home's worth 250, 265. Is that a good deal? Yes, it's a very good deal, right? So we could say, hey, here's your 30,000 buy, or I could go to a lender and say, hey, would you be willing to provide a second lien on this property? So you could do it that way. And there's deals that we've done with junior liens also, where, for example, we borrow 100,000 from one lender, and that's the first lien. And then we do borrow, like say it needed 50,000 repairs, a second lien. My rule on that is one lender, one lien, one lender, one lien. Okay, that's our rule. Meaning Eduardo's going to take the first lien, and he's like, hey, I've got 100,000 here. I'm going to invest with you. And Sarah's like, hey, I got 50. I want to invest with you. You guys may never have known each other. I'm like, hey, what I'm going to do is create a loan for 150. Y'all are going to put your money together. We're not doing that. You're a lien. You're a second lien. Even if you did a third or fourth or a fifth. Well, if they don't know each other, I'm not going to put them in bed together. Essentially, that's messy. Now, if it's like, if you've got, hey, my dad's my business partner, he's okay, you guys, that's one lien, that's you guys are coming together. Like we've had first liens from IRA accounts, for example, with 10 people on one lien, but they were all family, they were related parties. So we've done it that way, if that makes sense. But we do on occasion, it's a small percentage, but we do second liens on occasion, and always over disclose, hey, there's some extra risk with second liens, do your due diligence, do your research. If they're going to do it, here's the first, they really can't, they can put that in their loan terms, but they rarely do. And most of them don't care. They don't care. Yeah. They're first lien. Yeah. But be careful with those. And then the times we've done second liens, the numbers still have to make sense. Okay. And then there's combo strategies, right? Like it could be, you could have someone who's a lender, they're investing money and they're getting some equity. You've done JV agreements, subordinate liens that I mentioned right there. So there's a lot of options. There's a lot of options to get creative here. Handshake agreement backed by the right paperwork and making sure it's a good deal. But these are all the options that are available to you guys. All right, that's my presentation. I do have a course, those you're interested, it's called Private Money Mastery. I'm not here to sell a course, but I'm here to educate, motivate, equip. So if you're interested in that, or let me pause, I'm gonna come right back. No, come on up real quick. I just German doesn't get out much, but I'm going to share something with you all real quick. But German, come on up. This is my friend German. So we've been working together for how many decades now? A long time. He had hair.
Yeah, I would.
So this is my partner German. So he helps me run all things construction. All right. So you guys how do you manage everything that you have going on? Because I have a good team. German's one of my like close friends and helped me with like so much stuff with construction. So some of you guys know we have a construction company called Cost Plus Construction. It's really important for investors to be vertically integrated. So this is the construction portion of our business that German helps me run. So we're going to do some networking after. So if y'all are looking for a contractor, need help, talk to German. And or if you know anybody looking for construction services, give us a shout. Selfish plug right there. See, we did have a sponsor. All right. So wrapping this up, and I'm going to open up for questions. How are we on time? Did I blow it away? Okay, I figured. I got to get a clock. I'm sorry. But wherever you guys are at, if you're ready to launch, I say that you're ready to launch, you're ready to grow your business, really treat it like a business, not like a hobby, not like I'm not sure what I'm doing, to get a real blueprint to lay the groundwork on the 5 fundamentals of real estate, whether it be raising money, finding deals, building a team, learning how to manage construction. There's a QR code on there. Scan that, fill out your information. All that it's going to do is like, we're going to hop on a quick call, see if it's a good fit. I'll share with you some of the things that we have to offer. Or if you're a real estate agent, looking, say like most of our team with the Wolfpack. How many of you guys are here from the Wolfpack? 1, 2, 3. Most of you. are now here from the Wolf Pack. You're like, man, I want to get plugged into what you guys have going on the Wolf Pack, which is primarily helping agents wear multiple hats, meaning becoming an investor agent. So you can still take care of your clients. You can do listings, you can work with buyers, you can do all that type of stuff, transactional stuff that real estate agents do. But if you understand, like, I don't want to just list and sell real estate. I want to own real estate and I want to create wealth. Creating wealth is done on the investing side. It's not done on the agent side. Don't take it from me, take it from Gary Keller. He said it, not me. So if you're interested in really, really launching your business, taking it to the next level, shoot that QR code. We'll hop on a quick call and just kind of see what it's going to, what it looks like for you to kind of take your business to the next level. That's all I got. Sorry I went over. Hopefully y'all got value of that from that. Are there any other questions? Any other questions? Go ahead.
I've been watching you for a while. How do you structure it? Like, do I get an LLC? Is it all three of them?
Mm.
Use hard money and part of it. And then
Back to my disclaimer, this is educational purposes only. I don't really want to answer legal questions, but I will tell you that every deal that I've done has been win-win agreement. Are you happy with this? I'm happy with this. Let's get with a real estate attorney and do that. I will tell you my experience. If we're doing a one-off deal, that is not an LLC. Now you're getting into a tax return. You're filing an LLC, EIN number. No, it's a JV. Okay, it's a JV. So when I've worked with some people like, hey, I want to partner with you. I want to do all this stuff. Like, how about we go on a few dates first before we get married? So I would say do a few deals with the joint venture agreement by a knowledgeable attorney, not ChatGPT, most likely. Although it's getting really good. It's getting really good. It's much quicker, to be honest. We've got a deal hung up for like 3 weeks now from an attorney. And I'm like, what do you mean register? Yeah. So what I've done is we call it equity participation mortgages. Okay. So that is typically a better vehicle for what it sounds, and we can talk about later, John, but it sounds like an equity participation mortgage would be better for you. And what that essentially is, it's a mortgage structure. So they have security, and now there's much less liability. If you do something wrong or you get sued, it's better for them. And there's the security instrument of a mortgage and a deed. And I'll give you a case in point. When I used several of these was after Hurricane Harvey hit, and there's like deals all over the place. It was like, oh. I remember Harvey, the water came up to our doorsteps. Like, it came up to the front porch of our personal home. I've got half a dozen houses vacant sitting on the market. And I'm just like, oh, what's going on? Houses are flooded, all this kind of stuff. One of our tenants called us and said that the water was up to their ankles and they were leaving the house. And I'm just like waiting to get out of the house. Sorry, I'm going to go longer. But so the next day, the water is starting to reside. And my wife's like, where are you going? I'm like, I'm going to the city. She's like, you can't go into the city. I'm like, I'm going into the city. And I came back that night. One of our flip houses was scheduled to close. And there was like water in the garage right up, like it almost went in. And then the house where the tenant, and Chris Atkins went over, the house, the tenant said the water came up to his ankles. We get in the house, they're gone, and the house was fine. So I called the tenant. I'm like, dude, you said the water's up to your ankles. Well, I was standing on the front porch. Well, you didn't say that. You didn't clarify that. He's like, well, I just assumed it was coming to the house because it's already up to my ankles. Thank God we dodged a bullet there. But I came home, that was in end of August. And I told my wife, and I saw the devastation. And I told my wife, I'm like, I'll see you at Christmas. That's what I told her. I'm like, I'll see you at Christmas. And I worked my butt off. But what came about from it, now we started getting deals that were never presented before. Memorial, Fleetwood. I remember this deal came to us. And this was a very, very, very nice memorial house. And he bought this house. It was a little bit sad. He bought this house 25 years ago. And he had a piece of paper. It was kind of like they put in a car. When you buy a car, like the sticker, all that information, they had that on the house. And he saved it. And they bought it for $225,000, like 25 years ago. And I'm like, I can maybe offer you $225,000. I'm like, this is a $500,000 home. And he's like, all right, let's do it. Because they had insurance money come in. They just wanted to be done. People make decisions logically or emotionally. Emotionally, I just want to be done. But I'm looking down the street. Every house on the street is like hit. Like, am I flipping this house right now? No. Is that house going to cash flow if I put $80,000 of rehab into it? It was a 2-story, so luckily I had to remodel the downstairs. No. So I went to my lenders, and this is where handshake agreements, you just have conversations. So I did calls with my lenders. I'm like, here's what's going on. We've got really good deals, but I don't know if they're going to sell in 6 months or 6 years. But I know there's a lot of upside here, and I know this may be a once in a lifetime opportunity. And I went to my attorney, and I'm like, what can we do here? And he's the one who gave me the idea. So I went to my lenders. And I said, here's the deal. Here's what we can do. We're going to do an equity or we can. And so we're going to do. I'm like, we can do an equity participation mortgage. What is that? Well, essentially, you're going to loan to me like we've always done. Can't pay you 7%, can't pay 8, can't pay you 10. I could probably pay you 3 or 4%. So if I pay you 3 or 4%, I can what? I can cash flow and I can rent it. So we were doing equity participation mortgages for 3 to 5 years where I would pay them 4% on their money. And then when the property sold and it was HUD to HUD, this was our purchase price, this is the loan amount, anything and above that, we had a split. They would get a portion of that. Okay. And those houses cash flow like a mother, dude. I was like $1,000 typically was my net cash flow because I was only paying 4% high rent. It was yeah. Construction's always a pain. When was it not a pain? It was a crazy time. And I did saw my family maybe at Thanksgiving and Christmas but what's that? Well, we borrowed that. So we borrowed that, and then I had to take on any repairs and anything I'm not going to bother you, right? I'm not bothering you on that. So HUD to HUD, net to net, you got a percentage of that. There could have been a more scientific way to do it, but I didn't do very well in school. So I'm like, I like keeping numbers simple where they understood it. Yeah. But we were making so much cash flow. It's really good. So that might be a structure for you rather than we've never done a deal before. Let's create a partnership and pump the brakes on that.